I want to ah, thank you, Ruth. So I want to welcome you all for this July meeting. We normally meet on the first Monday of the month, but first Monday of the month for this month was yesterday, 4th of July. So we moved it to today. We'll go back to our standard, first Monday. In August, it will be August 1st, actually. And uh, we try to get speakers that for topics that are current and valuable to our membership. Our membership is very active, and they like to get all the information so they can go take some actions, write letters or make telephone calls or send emails or make donations to organizations. So that's what we do. We have a membership of well, Luisa can talk about that. uh, so Luisa, can you give us a status on where things are money wise?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So our Amnesty Chapter 1017, we ended May at $1,155.23, and at the end of June, we're at $1,185.23. We have let's see, we added a new family membership. We had no expenses during the month of June so far, so I think we're in an okay place at 1185.23. So essentially what we do is we collect dues for the year, and we try to start out the year with our folks paying dues. Virtually, it's been a little awkward, but I think we're doing okay.
Okay,
That's
thank
it.
you. Thank you, Luisa. And I just forgot to mention something. Our chapter is working on developing our own website, and uh, Ruth is the lead for that project, and she has an intern, Gaurav, who's a high school student who is helping her. And we plan to have our website in place by end of August of this year. Okay. All right. So now today's speaker, you all have met her, Kathy Brennan. She is the current group lead for the Bay Area Moms Demand Action. She's a longtime resident of Pearland, mother of 3 daughters, and a grandmother of 4. She's a retired teacher. She got involved in Moms Demand Action after the El Paso and the Midland Odessa shootings in 2019. She felt that mass shootings were becoming common occurrences and that not much was being done to fix this problem. So she did some research on how she could become involved and found Moms Demand Action. She immediately joined a local group, and tonight she's speaking. The topic is Moms Demand Action, working together to end gun violence. So please join me in welcoming Kathy. Go ahead, Kathy. It's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And I want to thank you so much for inviting me to present to y'all tonight. I just really appreciate your interest in the organization, and it's something that I feel passionate about. So I'm happy to spread the word. And also want to say that I am in awe of you all and what you do as well. I told Mohammed I didn't even know that there was a group like this out there, and I read up a little bit on you and just think that I appreciate what y'all do too. So if it's okay, I'll go ahead and share my screen for a PowerPoint.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, and so let me get it. All right. So yeah, once again, welcome and thank you for your interest in Moms Demand Action. I'll start out by telling you a little bit about who we are. And Moms Demand Action was actually started by a woman named Shannon Watts. Uh-oh, went back. Okay. A woman named Shannon Watts, who she's got involved kind of for the same reason I did, but it was after the Sandy Hook shooting. She just felt like, oh, this is just, it's too much and something needs to be done. And so what she did was started a Facebook group with her little group of friends. And this was 10 years ago. And since then, we have grown into a national organization with more than 6 million, excuse me, members. We have chapters in all 50 states. And so it's become quite a huge organization. Shannon Watts modeled it after Mothers Against Drunk Driving. But we always like to say that we're not just mothers, we are mothers and others. So we say that mothers and anyone who has a mom are welcome to join us. And we are an anti-gun violence organization, not anti-gun. A lot of people hear our name and they think, oh no, they want to take our guns away. But that's not the case at all. We just advocate for gun sense legislation, and we educate the public on safe storage. And so it's all about being safe with guns, not taking guns away. In fact, many of our members are gun owners. And so that's kind of a myth that people have about our organization, but no, we welcome everybody. We are nonpartisan, so Democrats and Republicans both are welcome. And we're sort of a counterpoint to the gun lobby. And what we like to say is we support the Second Amendment while doing more to keep guns out of the hands of dangerous people, and then to create a culture of responsible gun ownership. And so now I'll go over some facts and just information about the gun problem in our country. We have a huge problem in America. And in fact, well, as it says here, sadly, every day more than 110 Americans are killed with guns. This is a problem that's unique to our country. And I think I have a slide for this I'll show you later, but other countries don't have this. Well, in America, actually, the gun homicide rate is like 26 times higher than that of other high-income countries. So this is kind of uniquely an American problem. Sadly, also, the second fact, firearms are the #1 leading cause of death for American children and teens. And I just think this is horrific. And actually, for the longest time, it was the second leading cause of death. But as of last year, it has moved up to where it's the #1 leading cause of death for children in America. So that's why we fight so hard at Moms Demand Action to change that culture. Okay, here's where gun violence is, like I said, a uniquely American issue. This graph shows, you can see how high the rate of gun homicide is in America, and then compare it to other countries. So it's just certain, there's just a lot of work to be done in this area. And there are lots of myths surrounding gun violence. So I'm going to talk to you about some of those and then present some facts. And the first one is that mass shootings and school shootings make up the bulk of gun deaths today. And certainly these mass shootings are horrific. They're just terrifying and just heartbreakingly sad. And so and we hear about that a lot on the news and everything, and as we should, because of how tragic the mass shootings are. But as it turns out in reality, mass shootings plus school shootings make up less than 1% of the gun deaths in our country. You can see from this graph, like the red part of that circle is all the other gun deaths in our country. And then that tiny little gray strip represents the amount of mass shootings compared to the other gun deaths. So that's just a very, very small fraction of our problem. Even though that is a horrific and huge problem, the whole scope of the problem is much bigger than that. And also to show, this graph shows the percent of different types of gun deaths in our country. And you can see here that the bulk of gun deaths is from gun suicides. And a lot of people are surprised to hear that. But that's where most of our gun deaths come from. And so we try to promote safe storage of guns to help prevent those deaths. You can see that the next highest rate of gun deaths is gun homicides, and that's about 40%. And then those small percentages there represent the other types of gun deaths. So the unintentional shootings, shootings by police, unknown, and then also your school shootings. So the bulk of the problem in America comes from suicides as well as gun homicides. And then another myth is that gun violence affects all Americans equally. And as it turns out, this also is not the case. When we look at suicides, we see that the bulk of suicide deaths are in the white population, white Americans, even though they represent only 62% of the population. And then you can see the percent of other ethnicities. So it's a little slanted on that. And then also when we look at homicide, we see that Black Americans make up the biggest percentage of firearm homicide victims, even though they make up only 13% of the population. They represent almost 60% of homicide victims. And this is because of how our communities, many of our communities have been racially marginalized, and just subject to the history of oppression and white supremacy in our country. And that ends up creating like just little pockets of areas where gun violence is quite prevalent. So it's really a big systemic problem. Okay. And another myth is that policy and program that kind of work doesn't matter. Making laws doesn't matter. A lot of people think, why should I try? It's not going to change anything anyway. And that also is far from the truth. We know that gun safety policies save lives. And here's a little graph, and I found it kind of hard to figure out when I first looked at it. But, oh, I'm sorry to say, I forgot to mention initially that Moms Demand Action falls under the umbrella of an organization called Everytown. I don't know if y'all have heard of Everytown, but that organization, they're kind of our think tank. They guide us, they do research, and I mean tons of research and statistics, and they provide legal advice and help for our legislative work and such. And so Everytown did some research and they looked into states that have strong gun laws and states that have weak gun laws, and then compared the gun violence rate between those states. And this first line, national leaders, what that means is states that are leaders in laws with good gun law strength, they have a lower rate of gun violence in their states, which that is the red part. So the blue shows how strong the gun laws are. The red shows the rate of gun violence. And in the national leaders group, there are 8 states. There's California, I think Rhode Island, New Jersey, and anyway, I can't remember all of them, but there are 8 states in that group. Below that, there are states that are getting better. They're making progress with the strength of their gun laws. And you can see the amount of gun violence they have, or gun deaths. Next one is states that are really missing the important parts of gun violence laws. And you can see they have more deaths. And then so on with states with weak systems, and then states with national failures. National failures are the states with the very weakest gun laws. And in case you're wondering, anyone want to guess where Texas falls on this scale?
National failures.
Close.
Weak
Yeah,
system?
they're actually in the weak system. They're like number 34 out of the 50 states.
Huh.
So we have a lot of work to do here in Texas. Okay. Now I'll go on to talk about some of the things that we do in Moms Demand Action. So first of all, we do work hard to support good gun laws. We work with our legislators. We go to the Capitol and testify. This past session, when they they passed the permitless carry law, which I don't know how many of you are familiar, but that allows anybody to carry a gun in public without licensing or training. We all went to the Capitol and testified, and I think there were like 60 of us that went. So we work with our legislators. Unfortunately, they passed that law anyway, but next, we support local partners and strategies. And what that means is there are lots of organizations out there, kind of like yours actually, that are doing work already to support our marginalized communities, because those tend to be areas that have greater amounts of gun violence. And so we partner with those organizations and work with them to, number one, get the word out about Moms Demand Action, and also help them with the work they're doing. So like recently, we worked with the Galveston County Food Bank, and we've also done some things with Baker Ripley in the Pasadena area. I don't know if it's a community support organization. So, okay, and then we also work with elections. That's especially now that elections are coming up, we're really about to ramp that part of our work up. We help to elect what we call gun sense candidates. And what that means is Moms Demand Action screens interested candidates to ensure that they would legislate with gun safety in mind. And if they pass the screening, they give them what's called the Gun Sense Candidate of Distinction Award. And that means that, when they're Gun Sense candidates of distinction, those are candidates that we will work actively to support through phone banking. We can do block walking, go to rallies, any kind of events they have that we like to show up and support them. Excuse me. And this can be federal, local, statewide. candidates. Okay, we also we work to secure gun storage. We have a public education program where we talk to people about how to store guns safely in the homes to keep children safe. And of course, we train volunteers and try to spread the word about what we do. So once again, appreciating y'all letting me speak tonight. Okay, the Be Smart program is our educational component. And with this program, we go out to schools, PTAs, other community organizations, and we have a training that we do, like a quick training to teach about how to be safe with guns in the home. Because like I said, we don't want to take anybody's guns away, but securing them safely is a huge part of keeping our population safe. So we ask them to secure their guns appropriately and properly, and we show them how that, you know, your guns should be locked and separately from the ammo, which should be locked somewhere else. We ask them to model that responsible behavior. And this is something I never thought of when I was raising my kids, but we teach them to, if they're sending their kids to somebody else's house to play, to ask those parents if they have guns in the home, and if so, how are they stored? And then we also just recognize the role that guns play in suicide, and then just talk to others about being safe. Okay, as I said, we do work a lot during elections to support our gun sense candidates. And I just wanted to share that you can look to see who the candidates are in your area by going to this site, gunsensevoter.org. I think it will ask you to type in your zip code, and then it will tell you what candidates that are running in your area have been approved as gun sense candidates. And then we do have another component called the Everytown Survivor Network. We realize that many people in the population are survivors of gun violence. And we say that that is anyone who has witnessed an act of gun violence, been threatened or wounded with a gun, or had someone that you cared for wounded or killed with a gun. And Everytown provides just tons of support for survivors. They have counseling, support groups. They can become involved with Moms Demand and share their stories. And so if you are a survivor or know anyone who is and are interested in that, to find out more, all you have to do is text the word survivor to this number, 64433. Okay, I'll talk a little bit now about new gun legislation and policy. You may have heard that after the horrific Uvalde school shooting that Abbott made an announcement on new funding for school safety. And we at Moms Demand Action feel like he kind of missed the mark on that. His plan provides for kind of like, I don't know, protecting the schools, like arming not arming the schools, but just providing protection for the schools, such as bullet resistant shields, expanding the Texas Health Access through telemedicine, that's a good thing, and increasing therapy resources, which is also a good thing. But they want to do things like arm teachers and put up more fencing and bulletproof things. And we feel like that doesn't address the root of the problem. what we feel that we need is evidence-based solutions to prevent school gun violence, and we do know there are such solutions. And then we need to fund community violence intervention programs, which are proven to reduce gun violence, and then pass extreme risk protection laws, which also reduce gun violence. And if for those of you that may not know, extreme risk protection laws are also often called red flag laws. And that means that if somebody is in danger of harming themselves or others, and the families or people around them know that, they can go to a judge and they can get an order to say that guns are not allowed in that house until, you know, the crisis is over. And I will say, we at Moms Demand Action are very excited about the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which you may have heard, Biden just signed this into law. And we're so excited about this because it has been 26 years since any kind of gun sense legislation has been passed nationally. People have been working at, you know, making changes, and for the longest time, nothing has happened. And so even though we feel like, yes, there's more that we need, it's huge that something passed at all, and that we do feel like that this act will save lives. And what it does is it enhances background checks for buyers under 21. And so that's helpful because that means there's kind of like a waiting period as part of it, because there's more time to investigate a person's background if they're under 21. It clarifies what background checks are. So that makes it harder for somebody like the Uvalde shooter to go buy a gun one day and then turn around and use it the next. There's a waiting period before they can pass the background check. It also disarms domestic abusers. And that's a huge thing because it covers the boyfriend loophole. And so if you're not familiar with that, okay, anyone who has a restraining order for being a domestic abuser is not allowed to have a gun in their home, or not allowed to be in possession of a gun. But that never applied to other relationships. It only applied to married relationships. And so now anyone that's in, like it could be a dating relationship, anyone that's in a relationship like that, and there's signs of domestic abuse, those abusers are now not allowed to be in the possession of guns. Okay, the act also cracks down on gun trafficking, and it does support the red flag laws. And the way it does that is it gives funding to states to implement red flag laws. Now, unfortunately, it is up to the state to decide whether they want to enforce red flag laws, and Texas does not have those right now, but it's still a step in the right direction that the funding is there. It also clarifies who must run a background check. I don't know if you're aware that if a person buys a gun from a licensed dealer, that dealer is required to perform a background check on the person before they can sell to them. However, there are loopholes there because people can buy guns through gun shows. They buy guns on the internet. Friends give people guns. But now there are more laws about, or there's more clarification about who is a gun dealer. And so those people are now going to be required to perform background checks where they were not required before. And then, of course, we have funding for community violence interruption. and mental health services and school safety. So this funding is helping with the root of the problem. Okay, and so here are some things you can do to help. This number up here, 64433, it's kind of like the generic number that we at Moms Demand Action use to take action. Often they will tell us, hey, text this word to 64433 and will help you to take a particular action. So like these are some that are in play right now. If you text the word ready to 64433, that kind of gets you in the loop to where, okay, we have your name and number, we know you're interested, you will get information from Moms Demand Action. If you're interested in volunteering, you can text the word commit, and there's a little form you fill out that tells what areas you might be interested in, whether it's legislation, elections, community partners, our Be Smart education program, or whatever. Or even if you're not sure, just say, I'm not sure, but I want information. You can text survivor to join the survivor network, which I said provides support for victims of gun violence or survivors of gun violence. You can text the word event to find out if things are happening near you. And we have an app that you can download. And with that, you would just go to the App Store. And I should have looked, I think you just would search for Demand App, or Demand Action or Moms Demand Action. So those are just kind of like quick, easy ways to help. And then also one that we're doing right now is, this is kind of a priority for us, is to text the word Abbott to that number, and it will connect you to the governor's office. And we just want you to ask him to act on gun violence prevention legislation by calling a special session to address gun violence in Texas. And I will say, whenever they ask you to call, they often ask us to call our senators to tell them to support this or don't support that. And it's very easy because they tell you, they give you a little script to say first. They'll tell you exactly what to say, and it's always short and easy. And so I like that because it's, like I said, just a fast, easy way to really take action. And then, of course, if you are interested, we'd love for you to join us at our monthly meetings. We meet the third Tuesday of every month, typically. We meet at the Clear Lake Freeman Branch Library, and it's always at 6:30. And you can see my email there if you are interested or have any questions. And Mohammed, I know I went through a lot of this stuff fast, so I don't know if you pass out or if you give out follow-up emails after meetings or something, but I could send you those links and stuff to pass out.
So Kathy, that I just do a summary and send it to our distribution list.
Okay.
I can get all this information from the presentation you give me, and then put that in my email.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you. And Mohammed, here are some more just websites that you can go to get more information. That Everytown, I mean, if you want to know anything about gun violence, they have it there. It's sometimes I go and look and I just kind of get lost in all this information they have. And then that gunsensevoter.org, again, is to find out who are your gun sense candidates where you live. And we do have a Facebook page called Gun Sense Majority Texas that also talks a lot about what we're doing and what's going on. And we would love you to join that. All you do is go to Facebook and search Gun Sense Majority Texas. And then there's a little button that says request to be invited. And you click that button, and I think you just fill out your Facebook address or your email address, and somebody will see that and then invite you to join. And I just want to close with this little quote that I like a lot. And sometimes I think about it when we're working hard, and sometimes it seems like we're not going anywhere, or it's taking a long time. And it just says that revolutionary change does not come as one cataclysmic moment. Beware of such moments, but as an endless succession of surprises, moving zigzag toward a more decent society. We don't have to engage in grand heroic actions to participate in the process of change. Small acts, when multiplied by millions of people, can transform the world. Even when we don't win, there's fun and fulfillment in the fact that we have been involved with other good people in something worthwhile. We need hope. So, thank you again for listening, and I would welcome your questions if you have any now.
Thank you, Kathy. The way folks, the questions will be just unmute yourself and ask your question. I see Johnny, and then I see Ruth. So Johnny, can you go first?
Ruth, would you like to go first?
I actually don't have a question. So you can go ahead.
Okay. Mohammed was trying to put words in your mouth, huh? Yeah, okay. Let me just mention, first of all, Kathy, thank you for the work that you're doing. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
I just want to remind all of us that 6 years ago this month, a 29-year-old entered Pulse Bar down in Florida, killed 49 people and wounded another 53 for a total of 102 lives that were affected. And then the very next year, 61 people were killed in Las Vegas. How quickly we forget those horrendous things that happen. Now, I do have a question for you. If there is no background check by the dealers at these gun shows, who follows up on that, and what are the ramifications?
As far as I know, nobody. A person can just go to a gun show and buy a gun and take it home.
But I thought in one of your slides, it said that there would be background checks at gun shows.
Not gun shows specifically. What the Safe Communities Act did is it's going to clarify who is considered a gun dealer. And I think like right now, people think if you're at a gun store or a store that sells guns, you're a gun dealer.
Yeah.
But now the law is being expanded to cover more people. And truthfully, I don't know the answer to who exactly that is. But, and you know, I guess that's a good question. Does that cover gun shows? You know, maybe the new law does.
Well,
but I can look
sure you're
into
aware
that.
There's always a huge gun show in Houston.
Yes.
And
Yep.
probably Dallas too.
Yep.
You know,
Yes.
something needs to be done about those gun dealers if they are not doing background checks before they sell the guns at
Right.
those gun shows, because that has been a big loophole for many years. You know.
Okay.
Did
Yes.
you get a chance to meet with anybody on the Hill who may not be in our corner, so to speak?
Who may not be in our corner
Yeah.
in the Texas Senate?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Most everybody is not in our corner. I mean, I'm not joking,
Yeah,
sadly.
boy.
Now, of course, some are. Some are.
I
But-
hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's why that permitless carry law was passed this last session. It's so unbelievable because like really 81% of the population opposes permitless carry. The police oppose permitless carry, religious organizations oppose permitless carry. We went, I think there were 60 of us that went and testified to the Senate when that bill was coming into play. We heard police officers testify and say that's going to make their job harder.
Yeah.
We heard gun trainers, you know, because to get a gun license before that, you had to have training, X number of hours of training along with your background check. And that's been eliminated, but we had those trainers, we heard them testify and say, this is not a good idea. They said, one guy said, we've had people come in that had the wrong ammunition for their gun, or, you know, they were loading totally improperly or something. So, and my point is those senators listened to all that, and then they went right ahead and passed the permitless carry legislation.
But
So,
they need to hear from us. And
yes, they do.
in the times when I went on the Hill to meet with Congress people, so often they would just send their underlings to meet.
Yes.
It would not be the people who could actually have influence and promote legislation. It would just be somebody's assistant to the under assistant.
Exactly.
And I was always insistent, no, this is the person with whom I want to meet.
Oh,
You know, you got
did
to
you
put
get
your
to
foot
meet
down.
them? And did you
gotta
get to,
Huh?
yeah, did you get to meet them?
Sometimes
Oh, that's
you
great.
got to put your foot down. As somebody said in one of our meetings, I forget which meeting it was, not too long ago, probably at Kim Chris' office. Someone said she walked in and acted like she owned the place because we do.
That's what you got
That's
to do,
our
right?
building. That's our building.
You're
That's
right.
our government.
That's
We
right.
own it with our tax dollars and
Mhm.
our votes. We don't need to go in and feel like we're unimportant or not powerful. We are very powerful if we just put our power into action.
Yes. Mhm.
I'll stop on that point. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but that's a good question about whether the new law covers the gun show loophole. And I'll look further into that, to the specifics of who is now considered a gun dealer, and I'll send info to Mohammed to share.
Well, and what are the ramifications if a gun dealer at a gun show doesn't do background checks? That's my question.
Yeah, like right now they're, oh, you mean if that loophole is closed now and they don't do a background check, what are the ramifications? Is that what you're
And
asking?
how does anyone know if they do a background check or not on the buyers?
Okay. Yeah.
Those
good
are very
question.
important questions.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes,
Who's got the next
Kathy?
question?
yes.
Yeah, Louisa, go ahead.
Yeah, Louisa here. So could you just speak a little to your organization's, I guess, position or advocacy to have weapons of war not be sold, the assault rifles and that whole issue, please?
Yes. So in other words, do we support a ban on assault rifles? Let me just say, and this is going to sound kind of weird, I know. Moms Demand Action as a group does not work toward that goal of banning assault weapons. And the reason they say is, and that's not to say that personally we don't agree with it. I totally think assault weapons should be banned. But what the statistics show, what the research shows, is that that type of gun death is, and not to say that this doesn't, all gun deaths matter, but it's such a small fraction of gun deaths compared to the whole picture that they put their efforts toward the bigger picture, I guess.
24 people yesterday was a small fraction.
I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah, but I mean, I know those assault weapons are horrific. They kill a lot of people faster than anything else. And
The
but
reason
as-
I'm asking this question is that for about 5 or 6 months, whenever I'm out in a store or I see teenagers or I'm at the pool or whatever, I usually try to engage with young people and just talk to them, casually, like, well, what's going on, or, just establish some kind of conversation with them. And it is just scary what I'm hearing. I was talking to a young man in the grocery store one day, and I don't know how we got on I think the television monitor showed something about a mass shooting. This was several months ago. And he just volunteered to me that most of his friends had assault rifles. And he was telling me
Really?
how bad they are and how scary they are and all. And he said, he goes, it's just like another thing to have. It costs a couple, in some cases, a couple $1,000. Sometimes you could get it for $1,400. He knew all about it. And he kept talking. He was telling me about how many of his friends had them. And
Really?
they'd go out and they'd practice shoot. And then I was just kind of shocked, but I tried not to, show any shock in my face. And eventually he told me he had one, but he was afraid of it and he kept it locked in his closet.
Oh,
And
gosh.
he said, this is just like a thing that high school kids are doing, boys are doing, is needing to have it like another piece of, software or whatever, whatever it
Right.
is kids are attracted to. And so that made me start asking kids, and it's very common that they're buying them because they can. Anyway, I'm just saying that.
Well, if they want to fire them, they ought to join the military.
No, I'm just saying the scariness of something like that, that's subtext that's going on in our culture. That's all.
That's very scary. And I do wonder where they get them, because they can't buy them. They're not old enough, obviously, unless they're 18.
Well, they have someone else buy them for them.
Right. And
Well,
that's
yeah.
a huge problem, right?
Yeah.
That's a huge problem that that's a source of, that's where a lot of people get their guns is, somebody else
Yeah.
gave it to them, somebody else sold it to them. That's why we need all these laws that, protect us from that kind of thing happening so easily.
Okay, Bob, go ahead.
Yes, I've done what you've asked us to do. I've called Abbott's office several times. I usually get a recording so I can
Yep.
record my voice.
Yep.
I have emailed, I've done whatever. And the only thing I get is thank you for contacting the governor's office. That's it. And he instituted these laws about anyone being able to get a weapon.
Yes. he
Knowing
did.
full well. And as soon as he did it, I said, I'm going to hold you responsible. Is there any way that we can sue him for dereliction of duty? Because we've had a number of shootings since that
Yeah.
law went in. And it seems to me that we should be able to sue him as well as those legislators for doing this.
Yeah, the incidence of gun deaths in our state has gone up since permitless carry passed. And that's a great question. I think it'd be awesome if we could sue them for that, because, people told them you have blood on your hands for passing this and not caring. And so I agree with you. I think it's just unacceptable.
I have a question about the permitless carry law. So these teenagers who are too young to buy guns, but they have guns, if a permit isn't required, is it legal for them to use those guns underage?
No, nobody is allowed to use a gun underage.
Okay.
Like, you still have to be able to be allowed, if this makes sense. You have to be allowed to have a gun in order to carry one in public. So there are some laws, like you do have to be 18. And then there are certain, like, criminals that are not allowed to have a gun. So technically they're not allowed. Now we know people do that anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Wally, I wanted to ask you, the shooting that happened up in Chicago over the weekend, was that in the area where y'all used to live?
Actually, it wasn't. Highland Park is to the north of Chicago. we live to the west.
Okay.
So it's actually a very expensive area to live in. It's,
Oh, yeah.
really surprised that it happened up there.
That's why I thought you
As
lived
long
there.
as I'm speaking though, I do have a question too, if I could ask. While you're talking about answering questions, I went to your Gun Sense Voter website and
Uh-huh.
I looked up who candidates were for me in my zip code. And the only ones that show up are Mike Collier and Beto O'Rourke. Well,
Okay.
those two people, I already knew that they were what their stance was on guns.
Hmm.
The bigger question is finding out where my state representative and my state senator and my representative of Congress, where they stand. And I was wondering if how extensive this Gun Sense Voter website is by election time.
I mean, it should have all the ones that have passed the screening listed on there. And it could be that the representative in your area, didn't pass the test, or some of them have not yet applied. So I know that we're in the process of reaching out to our candidates in our areas and asking them, do they want to apply for this distinction? Do they not? I know that I know for sure of two in the Houston area. There's a Dr. Lalani in the Fort Bend area and Michael Creedon in the Clear Lake League City area, I think it is. I forgot the number of his district, but and actually those two received an endorsement from Everytown, which is even higher than the Gun Sense candidate.
So what you're thinking is the database will expand as we get closer to the election.
Yes, I'm hoping so. And actually, if you have a candidate that that's running that you think should qualify, if you want to email that name to me, I'll be sure and get it in the works. I'll be sure to have someone reach out to them and ask them if they're interested and want to fill out the questionnaire.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, all right, thank you, Kathy. Thank you very much. This was
Thank
really
you.
good, very useful information.
Thank you.
Wow,
I hope
okay.
so. And I sure appreciate y'all's time and you listening. Thank you.
And I'll get all that information from your charts and share it with the membership.
Okay, I appreciate that.
And
if you have
now,
any,
Bob, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if you need any more information, you know where to contact me.
Yeah, I will include your email address in my email, so
Great.
you have all that information. All
Okay.
right, so Bob, do your thing.
All right, I'm gonna put it on top of my head and I'll draw a name. All right, Ruth. Ruth, you have won it. You are it. All right, let me put another one. That's a $10 one there. Let's see who else gets it. That's me. I don't want to do that. I want someone else to get it. Here we go. Roger Boykins. Is he still here?
Hello, Roger. Yes, I'm here.
Awesome, Roger.
Yes. What did I win?
You got a $10 gift certificate to get a book at the Brazos bookstore.
Oh, okay. Okay.
See there?
All right. Well, thank you.
Now you're gonna have to learn to read.
Yeah, all right.
So, Roger and Ruth, tomorrow I will call Brazos bookstore and tell them the name of the winners, and you guys can call them, buy a book or whatever they sell online, or you can go drive to the store and buy it in person and pick up, or they can just mail you your gift card if that's what you want. So just give them a call. Give me 24 hours to make sure that they have the correct names at the store, okay?
Okay.
But Kathy, I'm
And-
sorry you didn't get an honorarium tonight.
Oh, that's okay. I'm excited. Y'all are going to Brazos Bookstore, so makes me want to head over there myself.
I actually have a book in my shopping cart on their website right now, so I just
Oh,
hadn't
nice.
gotten around to ordering it, but
Yeah, I know
support
Ruth
small
goes there quite a
bookstore,
bit.
independent bookstores.
Yeah. All right, so thank you all for attending our monthly meeting. Our next meeting will be August 1st, same time, same place, and we will have as an exciting speaker as we had tonight. So Kathy, thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you all
Muhammad.
very
Thank
much.
Thank
you.
you.
And
Have a
Bob,
nice
do you have,
Thank you.
evening.
Bob, do you have anything? Any last words?
No, I'm just sorry that I had some workers come over and when I came back, my computer was down, so I couldn't get right back on. So I had to restart it and everything. And of course, everything is being refreshed. Took me forever to get on, but I came in about toward the first of the talk. So I'm glad I did that. So
Thank you. All right, well, thank you
Great
so
people.
much.
Great,
Good night.
Mohammed.
Yes, bye-bye.
Goodbye,
Muhammad.
everybody.
Yes, Roger.
Good night.
Hey, I just wanted to bring up, I just read a really good book of a friend of mine. He was the captain of the U.S.